choice was that guy for me last year. He was that calming factor that could be an extension of me when I'm not around. That's what Rencher brings, and then he's really improved, his foot quickness and his speed, and he's tough and pass protection. And so those are things that he brings. Then I think Chez, you ultimately look at his combination of size and speed and the way he runs. He's a downhill guy. Reminds me a lot of Wayne. One cut guy, and he's going down behind his pads, and he's going to be violent. And then Mikey's probably in that Linjay category where he's an electric guy, a guy that you can get in space. But I won't know until I see those guys in pads. I see how they react to our environment.
I hate to bring up a sad topic, but how shocking was the news about Tyshawn? What do you remember?
Oh man, that was devastating. Devastating. Just like when I got the news of CJ was devastating, man. These are my guys. These are like my sons, and it's really hard. And I think that with Tyshawn, there was probably a lot more denial than it was with CJ, just because it's like, man, this can't be happening again. There's no way. And then they're different personalities, so the relationships were different between me, whereas CJ was kind of like my baby boy, like Ace. Like, you got to put your thumb on Ace, so you spend a lot of time with Ace just because he's a free spirit. But Tyshawn's a lot like AJ. He's very focused, and the thing that made it so tough for me is Tyshawn probably gave more to me than I gave to him, and I take pride in pouring everything I got into my players. But just the person that he was, how he conducted his business, the obstacles that he overcame. He gave me so much. He made me a better person, and that's kind of what really caught me off guard, because I wasn't expecting that call on a Friday night, and then to go down and to spend time with his mom and his community, and just to see how much he meant to his family, to his community, and to see the celebration of his life, and to see all walks of life, all people from all different socioeconomic backgrounds come together to celebrate his life, was just confirmation. So I've been able to find peace, but even though I have peace with it, there's still, the last couple mornings have been really rough, just because I have, just like with CJ, I had so many dreams and thoughts and expectations of what I thought their life was going to look like going forward, and now we're not going to be privileged enough to see that. So that's me being selfish, but ultimately I feel really good, because I know both of them were in a good place with the Lord. I'm confident I'm going to see him again. It was just really tough to see a young man so full of life gone so soon.
Okay. Real quick, take me through training camp, and it's a ritual, of course, it's a routine, but some of the checkpoints in camp from the time of what you're looking for out of, Travis had the same step, Linjay had that, the meetings you have, the daily routine, and how you keep it fresh, but stay on schedule to when you're trying to progress to.
That's a tough question.
It's very broad.
Very broad.
Try to put me
Okay.
in that place.
So I think it starts in the first couple of days, just really setting the stage for what's to come in terms of resetting our minds, going back to the basics, and it starts with me going back to teaching these guys how I want them to stand, how I want them to take the exchange from the quarterback, where I want their eyes to be, how I want them to step. That's where it starts. And then over the first couple of days, validating that on film, making sure that we're seeing that, and then also making sure that I'm not just doing it exactly the same way as I did it last year, from the standpoint of making sure that, like you said, it's fresh. So we want to make sure we have the right engagement, the right level of conversation in there. It's not just me talking, because I need to validate that they understand what's going on. And then as we progress, hopefully we get that under control in the first couple of days. And then I want to see us, okay, now let's progress to, okay, not just understanding how we do it, why do we do it? Why do we do it? Big picture things, big picture, because as you get into the game, I'm not out there with them. I'm not in their ear. I don't have the microphone in their helmet. So, okay, there's going to be situations that they're going to see in the game that may not exactly look like what we prepared for, but if you understand the big picture, then you can get yourself into a situation to be successful. So that's how we'll progress throughout the course of the middle of camp. And then by the end, really now it's just polishing it up, polishing and making sure everything's refined and ready to go for the first game.
It gets to be a grind for the players. I've got to think for the coaches, got to be some kind of a grind factor.
Well, I think just from a standpoint of it's a lot of hours, but man, the days are long, but the weeks are fast, the years are fast. So I don't think you approach it from that standpoint. And I think everybody in this business this building from a coaching perspective, we see it as a privilege and a responsibility, and we don't see it as a job. We're paid to do what we love to do. So still be some days, when you get to about 11 o'clock at night, that your body may feel like you're grinding, but in your mind, you're not really focused on that. I want to say he's right around 208, 209. I think that's where he's at. That's the last weight, and I think the heaviest I've seen him is probably about 213, 214 maybe.
Pass catcher, is that something?
Oh yeah.
That he wants to improve?
He does. He really does. He really does. And in fairness to Travis, he came from a system in high school where he was never asked to catch the ball other than a quick pitch. So he was never asked. But he's really taking pride in that. And I think that, as he's matured, he's starting to understand that he needs to be a complete player. And not just a guy that runs hard with the ball in his hands, but if he wants to be a marquee guy going forward, that he needs to be a guy that can be on the field in every single situation, and that's where the area where he's got to improve. So I think he's got the natural ability. It's just a function of him committing to what it takes. I played receiver, so I understand that catching the football is all confidence, but the way you build confidence is just doing it over and over and over and over so that it just becomes a reaction to you.
Coach, you have a lot of underclassmen. I think it's 80 underclassmen, 40 upperclassmen this year.
Yeah.
Do you think that will kind of facilitate the hunger, having that hunger, despite having won the national title on 15 last year? How does the mentality of this team compare to the one that won the national title in 2016?
I think it's a different football team because you were senior led and guys that had been there before. So they knew exactly what it took. I think you still have a good nucleus of those guys, but not quite as many. And so you do have the youth, and the youth brings excitement. They see opportunity. They don't quite understand what it takes, and so it's going to be a combination of us as the coaches and the leadership that we do have of figuring out, how we get those young guys to understand exactly what it takes. And so it's going to be fun, and that's why I'm excited because, we were here a couple years ago, where you had the youth movement, but ultimately it's our job to develop those guys. But I think they do bring a level of hunger, and now we just got to get the guys that have been here, the senior leadership, the junior leadership, to really embrace their role in teaching those guys what it takes to be successful.
Dabo's still a relatively young coach. If he stays around here another 10, 15 years, what do you think this program is?
Oh, man. I don't even know. That's a great question, but if you think it, and I know that Coach Sweeney is a visionary, so just like he said several years ago, that this was going to be the best decade of Clemson football, and it's become the best decade of Clemson football. And so with him, just his vision and his passion and his commitment to remaining true to himself and being who he is, the sky's the limit for this program. The biggest thing for all of us is just to make sure that we maintain that same level of vision and that same level of commitment to being ourselves, because one of the hardest things to do in any industry is to maintain success. I think when you're chasing success, there's a certain level of commitment, and then once you've achieved that success, and even for me personally, what I've learned in my life is that you set these goals, and then you accomplish one of those goals, and you're like, well, that's not quite what I thought it was going to be, And so then how do you recharge and refocus to go chase something else? And I think that's going to be the biggest challenge going forward for everybody, is just maintaining that hunger and that drive like you've never done or you've never accomplished what you have.
What have you learned about yourself as a coach since you took over as an offensive coordinator?
Oh, man,
And I guess how have you improved as well?
I think that as a coach, I've learned just how valuable my time was with my position guys. And I say that because now in a leadership position, I spend a lot more time with other position groups, and I'm responsible for managing other coaches and other individuals in the program, which takes a little bit away from my guys. And so I learned that I must be even more intentional with my time with my guys to make sure that I'm not shortchanging them. And then I learned that that I have to get outside of my comfort zone, because this is not my comfort zone. My comfort zone is not to be sitting in front of people and leading, adults, so to speak. My comfort zone is when I'm in my room, in my element, with my guys. That's where I'm most comfortable. So I had to grow and mature in that aspect to make sure that I do everything that I need to do in my role to help Coach Sweeney and this program be the best that it can be. So those are probably the areas that I've grown the most, being more intentional with my guys, because my time is not, I don't have as much time with them as I used to, and then making sure that I'm growing and maturing in the managerial aspect of my job, so that I can give the coaches and the players the best version of me, so that ultimately all of us can be successful.
Tony, with quarterbacks like Watson and Trevor, it would seem that maybe Brandon Streeter has one of these in his job. But obviously he's done a great job, and with Kelly and Chase,
Right.
the one game with closed up too. What can you say about his ability to get guys to play really well?
Oh man, first just go into the person that he is. I think it starts with, you got to understand who Brandon Streeter is, and he's an individual of very, very high character. He's passionate about his players. He's passionate about the position. He's passionate about the game. And he's passionate about teaching them, life skills as well. So I think that's where it starts. And the great thing about Streeter is he doesn't look at Deshaun as Deshaun. He doesn't look at Trevor as everybody else does. He's looking at a quarterback that could always be improving, and he understands what it takes to play that position and play it at a high level. And because of that, he's able to, one, establish that connection, with those young men. They trust him, but then also he's able to speak factual information to them, that can help them get better. And he's not going to compromise, what he believes because of the talent level of a prospect, if that makes sense. So I think, that's a testament. It starts with who he is and what he stands for, his knowledge of his expertise of his position, and then his ability to relay that to his players is phenomenal.
Do you think it's harder to coach? Superstar guys.
I think that they present their own challenges, so to speak, because there's so many other voices that could easily get into their head that you gotta manage, and I've dealt with that with the guys that I've coached, but I think the biggest challenge is you got to make sure that you don't fall into the temptation that exists around you to allow those guys to just rely on their superstar status or talent. That you got to continue to coach them just like you coach the guy in your room that may not have a chance to play, right now, that's developing.
Thanks a lot. All right. You have a good summer.
Yeah, man.